Here, look, Minister, you're welcome to the House. Thank you for being here. Minister, I know you're aware of the fact that there's 143,000 jobs in Ireland associated with aviation. The industry is now on its knees and the main priority is its survival. And that's not just those that are flying. My colleague mentioned Lufthansa in Shannon there a few moments ago, which is vital as well, but I'm sure there are colleagues here who have more to say on that. As we speak, over 1,200 airline pilot members of IALPA are living on social welfare, and the remainder are around 25 to 30% of their normal pay. It is unbelievable. I have met pilots personally outside the gate. You know, we have this grand image of pilots earning super money and having a wonderful lifestyle. They are on their knees, and these are people who committed to large mortgages and all of the things that go with the job they had. So, I mean, I would like to state on the floor of the House here today that I am 100% behind IALPA and everything they're trying to do for their members. We're now coming into the second summer with travel restrictions. Airline staff and their families are facing continued hardship well into 2022. You'll have seen hundreds of aviation workers demonstrating outside the Department of Health last week. Before participating in this event, and I know you mentioned antigen testing, and I'm glad to hear you mention it, they were all tested with antigen testing, and it shows how large groups of people can be tested in a very short space of time. And I mean, the international evidence seems to be clear that it is a tool in the box. It is not the solution, but it's a tool in the box. Last week, the Transport Committee's meeting with NEFIT was depressing, to say the very least. The CMO seems wedded to his position at the moment, and it's very hard to change that. I did notice under constant questioning from some of my colleagues that he did tend to sort of back off a little bit and saw some merit in antigen testing, and that's good. I think the man from Harvard that my colleague, Senator Buttimer, questioned on antigen testing particularly was very interesting at the previous week's committee, but I'm sure Gerry will have more to say on that himself. As you know, the EU states on the 21st of January unanimously agreed to Council recommendations setting a common framework for the use of rapid antigen testing and the mutual recognition of COVID-19 tests across Europe. Now, I mean, the bottom line on it is most European countries have now signed up to antigen testing. And in the context of SARS-CoV-2 variants, the variants are of concern to us, and I have no doubt whatsoever that the Delta variant, as it's now being called, is one that we should all be quite concerned about. But at the end of the day, is it reason enough to ground all our aircraft? The EU advice contains a common list of rapid antigen tests. It's rather sad, Minister, and I know this is not your fault, but it's rather sad that as long as a year ago, in fact, I would say the best part of at the very start of this, or as soon as antigen tests became available, colleagues from all over this House were in on a weekly basis talking about antigen testing, talking about trying to open the economy as much as we possibly could. And still, for some reason or other, the government were unwilling or unable to go against the CMO. And I understand why that might be the case. But sometimes political decisions have to be taken that countermand the medical decisions on the day. There are several studies that show that rapid antigen testing is very well able to detect high viral loads correlating to the infectiousness of a person, meaning it will be more appropriate tool in widespread application in Irish society. I was talking to a person who was planning on travelling this summer, and she asked her GP about the aircraft, travelling for 3 or 4 hours on an aircraft, and the GP maintained she was more at risk going through the airport than she would be on the plane once she was tested. And that's something we have to take on board. I understand the filtration systems on aircraft are very good, but I also understand that anybody who gets on an aircraft will have been tested. So really it's the speed of testing. There are a number of companies now, both in Dublin Airport, I'm not sure about Cork and Shannon, but my colleagues will talk about that. There are a number of companies operating there where you can have your test and fly with a certain amount of confidence. I was rather shocked to hear the CMO say that, or not the CMO, I'm trying to think who it was. A doctor stated the other day that he would feel totally uncomfortable sitting beside somebody on an aircraft who had a negative antigen test. I find that very, very, very hard to take and quite frightening for anybody who's planning on travelling. We are the most locked up country in Europe. On the one hand, the government states how important aviation and tourism is, yet we're blocking any sort of transport. I would hope to see transatlantic traffic coming back into the country, particularly from the west of Ireland, as you are, like myself. I mean, places like Galway, Kerry, Donegal, they all depend on transatlantic US tourists coming through every year. I would hope that we would see. It's amazing to think that in the United States now, you have almost back to pre-COVID times. Look, before I finish, one last one, Chair.
Senator Baltimore on a point of order.
Acknowledge that in the context of American aviation being fully reopened, transatlantic has not been reopened by the American aviation authorities. And let's be clear. Let's be clear, Cahill. If we're going to have a debate on aviation, let's do it in the facts, not on just Dorpan Lum go Dorpan Lay.
Thank you very much for that, Senator Butterman. I'm sure you would have corrected the record anyhow when you had a moment. One of the key things that we have to do is put money into the airlines themselves. We've lost Dobert Air, we've lost a few other small airlines. We have to put money into Aer Lingus and Ryanair. We can do it one of two ways. You can either grant them money or you can get them back in business carrying passengers. So thank you very much indeed for that. And I'm sorry I offended Senator Butterman on international travel.
Thanks a million.